guys. All right, so welcome to another kind of on topic but not standard topic video for Wednesday. And today I was just going to talk about really quick how I read so much. So back when I had just started my blog and I was super into working with authors on getting review books and reading them and promoting them and all that stuff, I was probably reading between 300 and 350 books a year, and I do realize that's a lot. I know I even had a coworker say, "You realize you're reading almost a book a day?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I am." Now, more typically, I read between like 200 and 250 books a year, and I get asked a lot on Goodreads and on my blog, like, Jesus, how do you read so much? And it's really, there's not a huge secret to it. I just read a lot. But there are some things that I can like give hints for or kind of little helpful tips for on how you can kind of up your game on reading if you want to do that. I mean, the number one thing, as with anything, is just make reading a priority. So, if you're sitting down and you think, oh, I'm going to scroll through Twitter for, 20 minutes, or I'm going to do online shopping or something like that, just go read instead. I mean, that's kind of the number one thing, is just making it a priority. You're never going to, like anything, and I've been telling my son this forever, it's something that it just takes some time to get good at, right? It's like anything you practice. If you read a lot, you're going to read faster and you're going to retain more of what you read. So, and I think like a typical average reading speed is about 250 words per minute for a normal everyday standard person. I do use an app online that does an estimation of reading length, and I will link that down below so that I know before I request a book for review, I can look up how long it is going to take for me to read. And to get those estimations, I did have to do some reading tests on that site, and I do typically read about 400 words per minute, which is about 1.5-ish times faster than the average, so to speak. And again, so like anything, if you read a lot, you will read better. So I guess the number two, I have like 6 little tips here, and the number 2 and 3 thing on my list are kind of in a similar vein, and that is just reading in different formats. So number 2 on my list for how to read a lot more is listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are great. I've had my Audible membership for probably 10 or 12 years at this point, and this isn't a plug for Audible, but they do happen to have a really large library of audiobooks. Their their phone app is really, really good, and it's super easy and convenient to use. We actually have, everybody in my family is logged into my Audible account, and Audible will, just like the Kindle, will sync across multiple sources. They actually have it now, like you can get the audiobook for cheaper and it will sync with where you left off in your ebook if you want to do that. But audiobooks are great. I have a relatively long commute to work. It's usually around 45 minutes. And if I can listen to a good story or audiobook while I'm doing that commute, it makes it so much faster. And then I feel like I'm accomplishing something while I drive. I also listen to audiobooks like while I paint my nails. I'll listen to audiobooks while I do laundry. I'll listen to audiobooks if I go out on a walk by myself. Sometimes I'll listen to them while I'm running. So anytime you're doing a menial task that isn't taking a lot of concentration, like folding laundry, cleaning, walking, exercising, I listen to an audiobook. And so that's a great way to get some time in. And some books are actually better in audiobook format. They just do a really good job with the production. So I guess that would be another recommendation is if you can afford to get an Audible account and listen to audiobooks, that's a great way to get more reading in. You can get audiobooks from the library as well. And I think some of them you can even get in an electronic format now. It's just not quite as convenient. Like I started listening to audiobooks with the old like packs of CDs that you got to put in and stuff. And obviously that's not going to be conducive to like doing portable tasks around the house. But yeah, it's a great way to get some more reading in. So the other thing I use a lot is, of course, in the theme of using multiple formats here, is the Kindle app on my phone. Again, you can get any reading app. You can do Cloud Reader or whatever. I just happen to use the Kindle app because I use Audible, and as I mentioned, if you get the books in both formats, they like sync across each other. And I could not tell you the number of times, especially when my son was younger and we were doing like swimming lessons and karate, and the lessons are short, they're like 20 or 30 minutes long, so you really can't do anything else, where I would whip out my phone and like read on my Kindle app. I mean, it's even gone so far as like my son wants to do a roller coaster ride at the Mall of America, like pre-COVID, like a million times, and I don't want to pay to do it anymore. So him and my husband do it over and over again, and I just sit on a bench and I read on my Kindle app. There have been so many instances where I have read on my Kindle app, maybe sometimes not the most appropriate situations, but like for example, I was traveling for work and I went to dinner with two guys who then wanted to sit there and watch a whole football game, and I was not interested, so I sat there and like read on my Kindle app because, you know, I just get bored. The other really nice thing about reading on a Kindle, which some people will or will not like if you actually have a Kindle, not even just the app, is because you can adjust the font size. Like I will read if I'm riding the bike in the basement or running on the elliptical. Sometimes you can make the font size a little bigger and just kind of set it on your, you know, workout device and read that way. So yeah, if this sounds obsessive, it is a little obsessive, but that's how I read so much. So that's another great way to just get a lot of reading in when you have downtime, rather than wasting it playing Candy Crush. I don't know, am I dating myself? Candy Crush, or I play Summoner Wars a lot, or, you know, whatever. You can just read some. All right, so I went on about that one long time. The fourth way I have to like help you read more and explain how I read so much is just to dedicate a time of day to reading. So for me and for a lot of people, that is usually right before bed, or like I like to take a bath before I go to bed, so I'll read some in the bathtub, which is why I got a waterproof Kindle, because I have dropped multiple library books in the bathtub, and that sucks because then you have to buy them and they're not in great condition. But just dedicate a time a day to reading so that, you know, just like anything, if it's part of your routine, you're going to do it more. So, you know, maybe it's a half an hour before you go to bed, or maybe it's when you're in the bathtub, or maybe you have like a half an hour in the morning between like when the kids are going to school and you're going to work, or whatever works for you, or maybe it's lunch break, who knows. But I always tend to read for, even if my day has been completely hectic and I've got no time to listen to audiobooks and no time to read on my Kindle app or my any ebooks, I will sit down and I will do my best to at least read half an hour to an hour before I go to bed. And that is a very important part of my like nighttime process. So even if we're going to bed super late, like it's New Year's Eve night and we get home at like, you know, 1 a.m, I will probably sit down and read like at least 15 minutes, because I just cannot sleep if I don't do that procedure. So that's just another way to get some good time in. The fifth way to read more, and the way I read more, and it's one that took me a long time to embrace, is to stop reading books that you don't enjoy. So I was pretty much I was a big supporter of finishing every single book I started. I really felt like I couldn't stop because then I was not completing it, and that was just bad. But the result of that is you get stuck reading these books that you dread sitting down reading, or you sit down and you read for like 5 minutes and then you're like, oh, I just don't want to read this. So just stop. My general policy is if I read 50 pages of a book and I am not engaged in the story, I don't like it, I stop reading it. If I think it has good potential, maybe I'll set it down and pick it up in a time when I'm more patient. But if it's just not for me, it's just not for me. And generally, since I do a lot of reviewing, I'll give those books like 3 out of 5 stars and say, hey, there's a lot of stuff I didn't like about this book, but I thought maybe it had some potential here and it just wasn't for me. Moving on, so I've gotten some criticism on Goodreads for giving a book I don't finish a 3-star review, and I feel like I don't know the whole story unless I read the whole story, so I'm always going to give people benefit of a doubt and bump that up to a 3-star review if I didn't finish the book. There are cases where that's not true, where there's big like technical errors or whatever in the book, and I'll just be like, no, we're done. But generally speaking, just stop reading the book if you don't like it. This is your time and it's very valuable. And if you want to read a lot, don't get stuck in these books that you hate or that you dislike or that you're struggling through, unless you are finding some sort of value in it for yourself, or if you're reading it to discuss with somebody or something like that. Just stop reading them if you don't like them. And then my last suggestion is more for if you want to just read more stories or more books quicker. I definitely would consider adding like graphic novels and mangas to your reading list. And I read a lot of these. I maybe read like 50 or so a year. I think I do the graphic novel reading challenge every year. It's like 52 books a year that I read that are graphic novels or mangas. It's not the main genre I read, but I'm going to be honest, like if I'm having one of these days where I just feel lazy and I don't want to put a lot of work into reading, picking up a graphic novel or a manga provides me with a really good story, some really good artwork, and it's a quick story. Like I can sit down and read a volume of manga in like 20 minutes, right? So I feel like I accomplished something, I got a book done, I got a good story, got a little adventure in there, and it wasn't that much time. As I've gotten older, I look a lot at like how much time am I putting in and what is the quality of what I'm getting back from putting time into this. So if I read an amazing novella, that's great. I didn't put much time into it. I got a lot back from it. If I read an amazing graphic novel or manga, great. I put 20 minutes, maybe an hour and a half into reading that, and I got a lot out of it. If I read an 800-page book that I am not liking, I probably would have stopped it by then, but that is not time that is well spent, and it's not time that is adding value to my life. So I would consider putting in graphic novels and mangas. And I'm going to be real honest here. I do try to provide like 3 to 5 book reviews a week for my blog. So there are weeks where I am just not able to read that fast. There's just too many other things going on in my life. And graphic novels and mangas are great to have around so that I could be like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to get 3 books read this week. I think instead I'm going to go sit in the tub and read this manga in 20 minutes, and then I'll have some content for my blog, and I could feel like I got another book read. So, yeah, I don't know if this was helpful or not. I just thought it'd be kind of a fun video to do. So again, like the 6 things I would recommend: make reading a priority, do it rather than doing other things. Listen to different formats like audiobooks or ebooks. Dedicate a time to reading so it becomes kind of a routine. Stop reading books you don't like, and consider some shorter types of novel formats if you want to get a quantity read, or if you like individual stories, so novellas, graphic novels, mangas, that kind of thing. So hopefully you found this somewhat helpful. Leave some comments below. How do you read, and what motivates you to read more, and what things help you read more? It'd be great to know. Again, I post videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Saturday is usually a Stacking the Shelves post, and then Wednesday is something different. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later. Bye.